Matt Walsh was recently speaking at a university, I believe. I believe this is at NMSU, Las Cruces, New Mexico, sparking protests. And while he was there, he spoke with several transgender individuals and leftist activists. The videos you may have seen, they've gone viral. And I think you should hear them if you haven't. So I want to play for you 2 clips, but I also want to provide for you my commentary and explain my view on Matt Walsh's statements pertaining to these individuals. In this video, Matt Walsh says, "I asked a trans woman to explain how he knows that he's a woman. The answer was about as coherent as you'd expect." Following up, he says, "I've had a few conservatives already message me to tell me that I ruined his exchange by being cruel and telling this trans person that he looks like a man. But there's no cruelty in it. He does look like a man. He's lying to himself, and he's the one who put his identity on the table for discussion. I'm not going to lie to these people. I will tell them the frank truth, and I'll tell it to their face. There is no other way." And I'm actually shocked by that, and I believe it. Matt Walsh isn't mean at all in this exchange. In another exchange, Matt Walsh says, "A trans EMT tried to use his medical training to prove that sex is not binary. He ran into trouble when I asked him how he'd respond to a patient with a penis who claims he's having a miscarriage." These are really great videos. And I think it needs to be said, look, this individual who shows up, the trans woman, and wants to assert that they are correct and what they say is true, has opened up the floor for debate on their identity. And I think it's fine if they want to live the way they live and they want to believe the things they believe. But I believe Matt Walsh is correct. Let me play for you this exchange. They're both a few minutes long, and I will provide my commentary as they go on because you may have seen these, but you should definitely watch this.
And so I'm going to say you wouldn't fool me at all. I mean, I see a man 100%, and I think that most people would. Now
notice when Matt Walsh says, "I see a man 100%, the trans woman has this look of like, huh? The point being made here is that the trans women said that they know they're a woman because people all around them, their friends, their family, tell them they see them as a woman. Let me play the video for you.
The fact that you have people in your life who are saying to you, "Oh, you're totally a woman," it's exactly what I'm talking about. No one in my life has ever once said to me, "You're totally a man, Matt." You know, if a friend of mine called me on the phone and said, "Listen, Matt, I want you to know you're really a man," I would think that there was something wrong with him. I would say, "Why are you saying that at all? It doesn't make any sense." So the fact that
there's something wrong with him. That's interesting. Could you imagine someone calling you and be like, "John, you're a guy." I'd be like, "Okay, is something wrong? Like, I don't understand."
This is a conversation to begin with tells me it only proves the point that I'm trying to make, that your identity, even in your own mind, is up for, it's something that you need to be assured of. Now, what I would like to ask you, again, because you're standing here, and so you've brought your identity on the table for discussion. So how do you know that you're a woman?
I want to pause here and say this is the important element of the video. This is the individual explaining how they came to know that they were a woman, but they never actually describe feelings of womanhood. You'll hear this individual go on to say they think they're a woman, they feel they're a woman, because they share an experience with transgender people, not with women, as Matt Walsh later points out.
It was first when I heard transgender persons describe their experience in their own words, and this was only about 2 years ago. Hearing somebody describe things, it was a woman from like England, describing her experience, her childhood, her teenage years. And it blew my mind to be listening to her, because it was just some podcast that I was listening to while I was like doing laundry.
And I want to stop here and make sure you understand the context. He's talking about a biological male when he says she and her.
But it blew my mind to hear somebody so eloquently and precisely describe things that I had experiences
What
that
was
I
the
had
description?
experienced.
What did they say?
Okay, so I am honestly hesitant. I know that you touched earlier about the difficulty that transgender women might have in describing their identity, but I want to state, I honestly don't feel that you would engage in this conversation in good faith.
Lie, full stop. This is the game. They can't define what it is. This individual goes on to explain that after listening to a podcast and hearing a trans person talk about being trans, he now thinks he's a woman. But hold on. If a trans person says, here's my experience and here's what I am, wouldn't you then just say you were a trans person, not, in fact, a woman, but a trans woman? And that's fine. You can be whatever you want. Notice right here the deflection. Matt Walsh said, here, let me just play it for you.
But why are you here? Why did you stand up to talk to me if you don't want to have a conversation?
Yep.
You're saying that you discovered that you're a woman. I'm asking you how you did. That's a very fair question.
Okay.
How do you know that you're a woman?
That's fine. All right. So first of all, listening to transgender people, and it was like, okay, this is a one-off, one person describing these things. Things like looking at yourself in the mirror and not recognizing yourself.
Full stop. A lot of people go through that. There are various forms of body dysmorphia, and that does not mean you are the opposite gender or a different race. I want to elaborate on these points being made as well. When Matt Walsh previously said, no one ever called me up and said, Matt, you're a man. I never needed anyone to affirm me. One of the challenging things in my life was, as many of you know, I come from a mixed race background. And I bring that up specifically because of what the left is and how it affects their arguments. No one in my life, there was never a moment where it was strongly a matter to me of what my race was. And I hear this from the left all the time when it comes to critical race theory, that white people don't have to ever think about race, and that's white privilege. And it's like, okay, well, I grew up in a mixed race area with a mixed race family, and we did have to sort of think about it, but it never played a role in how I decided to make moves in my life. I didn't stop and think, well, if I go into this space that is mostly Mexican, they're going to no, it's never an issue. I never went to, say, Pilsen, for instance, in Chicago, Mexican neighborhood, go to a Mexican restaurant. I never had them insult me and be like, uh-oh, the gringos here. They never said anything. I'd go in and I'd order food in Spanish if I could. It was fun. Never go to Mexican restaurants. They smile on their face. They say, would you like the food? Can't speak Spanish. They would be endearing. It's so weird, the world these people live in. But let me play more.
Hearing compliments like, you are such an example, like a positive masculine role model. And just hearing that and being like, it feels like they're talking about somebody else.
Yes, this is called self-doubt and a lack of self-esteem. Not because you're a woman. And it is kind of strange because I've never heard that either. So hold on. How many of you, and you can comment below, how many of you dudes have had someone ever come up to you and say, you are a shining example of masculinity? Even Matt Walsh with the beard, I don't think experiences that.
It means feeling alone, even when you're surrounded by guys, even when you have a lot of friends. And I was active in Boy Scouts. I'm an Eagle Scout. I had great masculine role models my whole life. And yet I never felt like I belonged. I felt welcome and included.
Why does that make you a woman?
Because
as opposed to just a man who doesn't get along with some other men, or a man who's depressed, or a man who doesn't feel at home totally in his body, which, by the way, is a pretty universal human experience. Everybody goes through it at one time or another. So in what way does that make you a woman, though? And it's interesting. You're telling me that you listen to the experiences of other transgender people.
Well, yeah.
But what about women?
So
because trans women are women, you would say, right?
I would say that. Yeah.
Exactly the same.
Yes.
Okay. Well, then why do you need to hear the testimony of quote unquote trans women? Like how you pick any actual woman in this room? In what way do you know that you belong in the same category as them?
I know because they tell me. So here was
You need them to tell you what you are?
Women. Yes. I trust the opinions of the women around me.
And if most women,
it's incredible. You might try it sometime.
If most women voted,
you hear that snark? This is common, and in the next exchange, which is more important, when Matt Walsh is talking to the EMT, I think you can actually see the doubt in this individual's mind as they're realizing they're wrong. What I think we're seeing here is a depressed individual being affirmed into some kind of category or lifestyle because they don't have. Let me put it this way. This individual said, "I don't feel right in my body. I don't feel like I belong." And Matt Walsh says, how is that different from anyone else who's just depressed or doesn't get along with guys? Now think about the exploitation here. And I don't necessarily think it's intentional, but an individual who is confused, depressed, doesn't fit in, is then told by a bunch of women, take hormones, sterilize yourself, act in this way, and we will then accept you. This individual is being affirmed. Wouldn't that feel great? Finally, people are coming to you and saying, hey, 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 do this thing and you're good. Well, it's like love bombing. It's what cults do. Let's play more.
And said they don't see you as a woman, would you say I'm not a woman anymore?
If who?
If most women voted and said they don't see you as a woman anymore, would you then relent and say I'm not a woman?
I would say most people on the planet have no idea who I am. I'm going to trust the opinions of the people who've spent their lives with me.
But you are relying on other people to tell you who you are, is what we're establishing.
For context, I know you like to say, everybody's rah-rahing and supporting transgender people, and yet they're still killing themselves, etc. But I'm standing here in a room full of people applauding you and asking questions like, how can I put out legislation here in New Mexico, my home state I grew up in, to try to reverse transgenderism? I'm not safe. And it
How are you not safe? You just said you're standing in a room with people who disagree with you and you're perfectly fine. So how are you not safe? Okay, look, we're going round and round. You don't want to answer any of the questions.
They're unable to. Matt, let me say this, and I think most of you already understand it. You don't even need me to opine on it. What we see is all the same thing. This individual doesn't fit in. It happened to the best of us. It happens to most of us. I clearly don't fit in with a lot of people, so I did my own thing. But I suppose there is a combination of factors in my life which led me to being where I am, as opposed to this individual being where they are. When I was younger and I didn't quite fit in, I didn't play sports, wasn't necessarily the popular kid. I was probably more, I don't even know how to describe myself when I was a kid. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't go to high school, so maybe I don't really understand. I was there for 2 months and then left. In grade school, I wasn't on the sports teams or the popular kid, hung out by myself for the most part, and then played music with some kids that I went to school with at a different school. And we just kind of did our things, punk rock. We didn't fit in. We were the weird kids to a certain degree, and that was it. Not so much weird, I guess, or goofy, but I played Magic the Gathering and Pokemon. The other popular kids were mostly playing basketball and football. Go figure. Now imagine if someone came to me and said, the reason you don't fit in with sports, when we would play softball in gym, I don't know what I was doing, I would throw the bat, and they would be like, pull it in, everybody, pull it in. I remember one time we were playing, we played softball. Because they didn't play baseball, it was on an asphalt parking lot. And they would always say, oh, it's Tim, pull it in. I would never play any of the outfield. I would only ever be catcher. And here's the best part. Whenever there was actually a risk that someone would bring it home, I would back off and the actual kid who was good at sports would step in to catch the ball and actually act as the catcher because they knew I was only catcher because I had to do something. And catcher usually didn't have to do much. I'd catch the softball and throw it back to the pitcher. And then if anyone was running home, the other guy would run in to catch the ball and tag them out. That was it. I didn't cry about it. I didn't care. And I knew this wasn't my thing. I do remember, however, one time they were like, bring it in, it's Tim. And then I cranked that mother straight up. They were so pissed. It happens. I got 1 out of 100. Usually I would hit a ground ball catch. I'd be out, but I had to play because it was school. You know what I mean? The point is, when I didn't fit in with those kids and didn't want to play those games, and I was more interested in playing with Pokemon cards, and there were very few other kids in the school who did, I was the odd kid out, and a handful of us did. We were the dorks and the nerds, the AV club kids. I did not say, maybe I'm a woman. I said, I'm going to do my own thing. I believe in myself. I am what I am. I didn't need anybody to tell me. I just said, I don't care for what you do. I'm not going to go drink and smoke with you guys. I'm not going to go play sports. What I see here is an individual who fell into that, then was surrounded by individuals who said, join us and do this thing. And that's it. That's it. For me, I said, I'm right, you're wrong. I know what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it well. And so what does that mean? This company that I and you have helped build is unique. We are of an interesting sort of middle of the road, maybe right-leaning, libertarian-leaning perspective. We clearly differ from those that say Turning Point USA. When we went there and did the show, here I am wearing my unbuttoned shirt and beanie and everyone else is wearing suits. We're clearly different, but we're clearly confident. I did not need anyone to tell me what I was. I know what I am and I know what I want to do. And if I think you're wrong, I'll do whatever I want. And if you want to do your thing, I say go ahead and do it. I don't care. I'll be over there. But for many of these individuals, they say, I don't know how to lead. So you have two people, in my view. An individual like myself who, you know, I got to be honest, I think testosterone may play a role in it. Clearly, with the lack of hair, there must be too much of it in my body. At least that's what they claim. Or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I'm just headstrong and kind of a dick. Maybe that's the defining factor. I do kind of think that testosterone plays a role in aggressive behavior, so maybe that is the case. But my point is this. When I'm young and not fitting in, I just decide I will find my own way and do my own thing. When these individuals who are maybe less aggressive, more agreeable, or maybe it's lower testosterone, don't fit in, they say, please won't someone tell me what I am and what to do? They hear someone else say, if you experience these things, then you are this. And they say, okay. And I think that's where we are.
We'll end with this because we're talking about womanhood. So people can probably shout out the question I'm going to ask you right now.
Okay.
But you know that you're a woman.
Yes.
What is that?
So gender is a social thing. It only
I don't
makes
want to hear
sense.
that. What is a woman?
No.
What is a woman?
What is a woman?
The word woman, define in the dictionary. Go.
A woman is somebody who is included and respected and seen and participates in society, recognized by other women. If you speak with women...
So full stop. That would be like saying, what is a blobbo? A blobbo is an individual who is seen as a blobbo by blobbo. That doesn't mean anything. You're basically saying, what is a zombie? A zombie is an individual who has been zombified by other zombies. I will give you the legitimate definition because I actually researched these things. Of course, Matt Walsh's definition of woman is an adult human female. I believe that is the widely accepted definition by most adult humans and even children. However, to these individuals on the left who seemingly can't actually answer the question, I'm very confused. If we're talking about gender as a social construct and sex as a biological form, then the answer is actually quite simple as to what woman is. A woman is an individual who identifies with the social norms of femininity and of females, whereas a female is an individual with the XX chromosomes and female gametes. That's it. Simply put. There you go, leftists. There's your definition. I don't understand why that's so hard. I'll say it again. A woman is an individual who identifies with female social customs. We're done. Have a nice day. If you were trying to define woman and female separately, that's literally what it is. But these people can't define it because they've not actually looked into what it is they're doing, who they are, and they are clearly followers. Now, if they want to live their life this way, I have no issue. My point is simply, how is it I've done more to research the social issues surrounding these concepts than the individuals themselves? It's quite obvious. As someone who reads the news and comments on culture, I am actively researching and trying to understand what it is that is being said and bring these ideas into a concise form that a person can understand. Matt Walsh was able to travel around the country speaking with people who could not define the word woman. The whole time I was like, it's kind of hilarious. These people are, in my view, the left, the woke, zombies. They can only define themselves as they are told to define it by someone else. And if no one else within their pack can actually define it, they have no definition. Me, I'm looking from the outside. If gender is a social construct, then woman is defined as the social constructs based on female biology, female social development. There's your answer. But there's more. This will be a long one. We have this video also from Matt Walsh that I need to get to. Both of these have millions of views and require intense commentary. Let me play this video for you.
You said you're an EMT.
Yes.
Okay, if you're responding to a health emergency. Biological male, somebody with a penis is having a medical emergency. And they say to you, I think I'm having a miscarriage. Would you check them to see if they're having a miscarriage? Would you consider that a possibility for them?
Shrug. Look. No answer. No answer.
No, but
There you go. No.
that's because some people don't have body parts. Doesn't mean they're not a woman.
See, therein lies the problem. You know, this is the craziest thing. I need to sit down with Matt Walsh. Matt, we need to get you back on the show. I know Matt was supposed to come on. I would love to devil's advocate have a discussion with Matt from these people's own argument because I can clearly craft it better than they can. It's so disappointing. But I think the reality is the reason why I'm more inclined to agree with Matt Walsh is because if you were actually trying to assess the circumstances surrounding these issues, then you would come to a logical conclusion. I believe Matt Walsh can argue their point better than I could. So what I'm saying, like if I sat with Walsh and said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play devil's advocate and argue on their behalf. Matt would do it better than me because he knows and he understands what's going on.
Okay. Sounds like we've established there are some people who in principle can get pregnant and there are some people who can't. So there's two categories, otherwise known as binary.
Lots of women can't get pregnant either.
Low information argument, which Matt Walsh will destroy.
Yeah, but they're still of the nature to get pregnant. The only
But
reason
they can't get pregnant.
Yes, but
truth matters, right?
It does. That's what I'm trying to explain to you.
Truth matters, and they can't get pregnant. That's the truth. So how are they still women?
Because they are for the same reason that I can rightly say that human beings have two legs. And if a person is born with only one leg, that doesn't call into question the statement that human beings have two legs, okay?
Or to add to that point, if we say all humans have two legs, we know that some people have lost their legs. The argument then is, well, they're not human then, because humans have no, they're a human who lost a leg, which Matt elaborates on, but I think he glazed over that point.
A person being born with one leg doesn't mean that now legs are on a spectrum, and we can't say anything at all about how many legs a person has. Who knows? They could be a centipede. You know, they could have 100 legs. No, we know human beings have two legs. If a human is born without two legs, something went wrong. They were supposed to have that second leg. Something went wrong. If you meet a person on the street who only has one leg, maybe they had an accident. Maybe they were in war. Maybe something, maybe they were in a car accident. Maybe they had cancer. A leg was cut off. But you know that something went wrong because by their nature, they're supposed to have two legs. Same thing for a woman. A woman by her nature can get pregnant. A man by his nature never can. So if you meet a woman of childbearing age, say she's 28 years old, and she can't get pregnant, you know automatically that something has gone wrong. And she can go to the doctor and find out what that thing is, even if they can't fix it. So that proves that women by their nature can get pregnant because the simple fact that she can't shows you that there's something wrong. This is what is known as the exception that proves the rule. Whereas if a male with a penis can't get pregnant, no doctor on earth is going to run tests to see what's wrong with him. Because they already know it's that he's a male, and there's only male and female, those who can get pregnant and those who can't. So,
shrug and walk away. I feel bad for these individuals. I feel bad for these people who are being misled. If you are of strong mind, if you are disagreeable, I'll put it this way. Someone comes to me and says, X is true. I say, are you sure about that? I believe Y is true. And I will argue points, even if I'm wrong, because I'm more confident in myself and I don't trust other people as much. If you are less confident in yourself and you have low self-esteem, you're not going to feel like you fit in. You're not going to know what to do. And you're going to be more persuadable. This individual came there, and I have respect for the willingness to speak up, to challenge Matt Walsh, probably because people encouraged this person to do so. But clearly, without proper tools. You know, I like to practice before doing things. I don't just walk in a music studio and say, all right, let's start singing. I actually work on the song. I practice extensively. I make sure I have it down the best of my possible abilities. And then I warm up and then I go in. Or we go in and we do vocal warm-ups and stuff like that. I'm not the greatest singer in the world. My point is, I'm not going to pretend to be. But you know what? I like doing what I do. I think that's the important thing here. Many of these people, they're demure, persuadable, and agreeable. So what happens when they feel like they don't fit in? Someone comes to them and says, this is your truth. And they say, okay. That's a sad reality. There are many people who are young. Many of them are autistic, don't know how to fit in, and are told by those who have these ideologies, this will make you fit in. And then it condemns them. You know, this other individual, and I want to make sure this is clear for both of these individuals. I'm sorry, they don't appear to be women, in the sense that if my view is a woman is an adult human female, they can make the argument that they're women because they have long hair and they're effeminate. Yeah, I don't view that as womanhood. However, they do because they view it as a social construct. But they don't appear female, so they can call themselves whatever they want. It's not going to change my perspective, my use of language. This individual is discernibly male. Both of them are. There have been a few people I've seen in my life who I would argue are passing. Ben Shapiro even made this argument that it would be confusing to some if he pointed to Blair White and said he in public because people would see Blair White as female. However, that being said, in my experience, I would say it's probably like 95% of trans women appear to be overtly male, discernibly male. And then maybe about like 70% of trans men appear to be discernibly female. There are some trans men who are, I believe, convincingly passing. But it's harder for males who tend to be larger with broad shoulders and deeper voices. There are males who are short and squeaky voiced, so, you know. But it can go either way. Ultimately, what I want to say about all of this is, I think the conclusion here with what Matt Walsh has presented with these videos in his speech, both of these individuals don't have strong arguments. They're not thought leaders. They cannot quantify their positions nor argue. I can make the arguments better than they could. And I'm not a leftist. I am not transgender. But I think that's the point. I don't believe there are strong gender ideologically driven individuals who actually are thought leaders. Because if you actually assess the ideology and then bring it to its logical conclusion, you're more likely to agree with Matt Walsh. You wouldn't say the same broken talking points over and over again. You would have an answer to your questions. So let me argue for this person. How do they know that they're a woman? Let me try to articulate some thoughts for you, which may or may not apply, but you could simply say that you were listening to individuals describe womanhood and what it was like to grow up and feel like a woman, and that resonated more with you than the thought of being male. And so you decided to adopt the social norms and use medical intervention to more align yourself with the experiences that resonate more with you internally. Simply put, a woman is an individual who chooses or experiences the social constructs around female humans. That's it. That's it. Why can't they define it? There you go. I just did it for you. Congratulations. I'll say it one last time because a woman, according to these people, is a person who adopts female social characteristics. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. That's it. So there, I've defined it for them. Of course, I think in the end, as I've stated, the logical conclusion still leads you to Matt Walsh's view of these things. That adopting social characteristics does not change your biological sex, and typically people will not view you as biologically female. There's a lot more to be said about this. I think there's a greater conversation, but I'll leave it there because this one went pretty long. These videos were absolutely fantastic. Matt Walsh is a smart guy. Smart guy. I'd love to have a longer conversation with him about all this stuff too. Well, I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.